this lesson. I'm teacher Agnes, and today we are going to be discussing about integers. Okay, integers. Now, previously we have categorized numbers into different categories. Can you remember any? We have even numbers, odd numbers, prime numbers, factors, multiples, composite numbers. All those are categorizations of numbers. Now we have another category that we are introducing known as integers. So when we talk about integers, which numbers can we categorize in the category of integers? So integers include positive numbers, okay, positive numbers, 0 and negative numbers. When you talk about these numbers, we mean whole numbers like positive 10, negative 20. So we do not have decimals, okay? So we don't include decimals or fractions. So integers are whole numbers that are either positive or negative. So we can give examples. So examples of integers are negative 24, 0, 7, 100, and so on. So any whole number that is either positive or negative or a 0 is an integer. Now, integers can be represented on a number line, okay? On a number line. Now, what is a number line? A number line is just a line that has numbers, okay? It's a line that has numbers, but in the middle we have 0. To the right of 0 we have positive numbers, okay? So this can go on and on until you get to the highest number possible. Then to the left of 0 we have negative numbers, and this can also go on and on to the least number possible. So as you move from 0 towards the right, you increase. There's increase in value, okay? Increase in value. So 1 is smaller than 2. 3 is greater than 2. If you get to 1000, it's greater than 3. So as you move to the right, the value of the number increases. But as you move to the left, the value of the number decreases. So when you compare negative 3 and negative 1, which one is bigger? It's negative 3, okay? Negative 3 is bigger than negative 1. Now, when you want to understand negative numbers, I like to use the concept of debt, okay? Debt. So when we have negative 1, is money that you owe someone. You know you have it, but it's not yours. So you will later on return it. But if it is something that is on the positive, then you can count that as money that you actually have. So when we start doing operations, when we start adding, subtracting integers, I need you to remember that you treat the negative numbers as debt. And then I'll show you how you can interpret this to make your work easier. So now we're going to learn how to add and subtract integers. Now, how do we add integers? So we are going to learn 2 ways of adding integers. 1, using a number line. 2, reasoning, okay? Yes. So the first one, we are going to have an addition of negative 2 plus 3. What is it equal to? So we are going to have our number line, okay? Here we have, in the middle we have 0, then ensure that you have equal divisions. So from 0 we have 1, 2, 3, -1, -2, -3. So we want to add. Now our starting point is from -2. So we are at -2 now, we add 3. So now remember that to add is to increase in value. And if you are increasing value, then you move to the right. So from -2, we move to the right how many steps? 3. So from here, we add 1, 2, 3. And we land on 1. That means that -2 plus 3 is equal to 1. So how would you reason this out? Remember what we said, that we treat negative as debt. So let's say this is you are going to the shop. You have a debt of 2 shillings. So maybe you bought something and you didn't pay for it all, and you are left with 2 shillings that now belong to the shopkeeper. So you go to the shop, you have a debt of 2 shillings. Then with you, you have 3 shillings. So you will need to pay the shopkeeper how much? 2 shillings. And then you'll be left with 1 shilling. And if it is you who is left with it, then it is positive. Okay? So reasoning out can also help you to get the answer, or you can use the number line. So let's try another example. So let's say we have, okay, let's say we have +4 plus -2. So this is just 4 plus -2. So let's draw a number line. So this is it. Then we have 4 here, 3, 2, 1, 0, -1, -2, -3, -4. So we are going to begin from which number? From 4. From 4. And then we add -2. So we are adding, but adding a negative number. If we were just adding 2, then we would move 2 steps forward. But now we are adding -2. Negative means you move backwards. So you add 2 steps backwards, okay? So positive and negative translates to a negative. So 4 minus 2, 1, 2. So we'll get to 2. So the answer here will be 2. Now, what if you reasoned this out? How would you do it? So you have 4 shillings with you, then you have a debt of 2 shillings. You pay 2 shillings and then you remain with how much? You remain with 2 shillings. So which method do you prefer? Using the number line or just reasoning out? Now you need them both because some questions are very specific and they require you to use the number line. So let's see, how do you subtract integers? Now when subtracting integers, we follow the same 2 methods. One, using the number line. The number 2, you just reason out. So you're going to start by doing one example. So we have -2 minus 1. -2 minus 1. So what will this be equal to? So we draw our number line. Right in the middle we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, -1, -2, -3, -4. So we are going to subtract and we are going to begin from -2. So this is where -2 is. Remember, subtracting is decreasing in value. So you move backwards. How many steps? 1. So from here, you move backwards how many steps? 1. Okay? So the answer will now be -3. Now reasoning out, you ask yourself, you have a debt of 2 shillings and another debt, because this is negative, of 1 shilling. So you have a total of 3 shillings as debt. And if it is debt, then it is negative. So the answer will be -3. Let's look at another example. So we draw our number line. So we have -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So now our question is -3 minus -2. -3 minus -2. So our starting point is -3. So -3 is here. That's where we begin. Subtracting means we move backwards. So if you want to subtract 2, you move backwards 2 steps. But we want to subtract -2. So we have 2 negations, okay? We have subtracting and then negative. So when you have 2 negations, it's like taking 2 steps forward and, another 2 steps backwards. So basically you cancel out, the movement. So when you have 2 negatives following each other, that becomes a positive. So listen to this, -3 plus 2. You move, -3 minus 2, plain 2. You move backwards 2 steps. But now it's minus -2. That means now you do the opposite, which is moving forward. How many steps? 2. So from here, we have 1, 2. You get to -1. So the answer here will be -1. Okay? So the trick here is whenever you have 2 negatives following each other, they become a positive. So this equation can be rewritten as -3 plus 2, which is equal to, now you ask yourself, you have a debt of 3 shillings and you have 2 shillings with you. So you pay 2 shillings but remain with a debt of 1 shilling. So -1. Okay? Now we have learned how to add and subtract integers. How do we multiply and divide integers? Let's look at that. Now when multiplying integers, we have 3 rules that we use to guide us. Number 1 is that when you multiply 2 numbers that are positive, which is what we know, you get a positive answer. So a positive times a positive is equal to a positive answer. Number 2, if you have 2 numbers that are negative, a negative times a negative is equal to a positive. So notice when the 2 signs are the same, we get positive as the answer. But now, when you have a negative times a positive, you get a negative. Or positive times negative, you still get a negative. Okay? Let us look at some examples. Now, for examples, we have 16 times 2. 16 is positive, 2 is positive. What is 16 times 2? 32. So the answer is also positive. Number 2, we have -5 times -6. This is a negative times a negative, which is equal to a positive. So 5 times 6 is 30, and the answer will be positive because negative times negative is a positive. Then number 3, -4 times +3. So negative times positive is equal to -12. And then finally, 6 times -3. So 6 is positive, 3 is negative. You get a negative answer, so -18. So when doing multiplication, you just need to remember these rules, that when the signs are the same, you get a positive answer, but when the signs are different, you get a negative answer. So what about division? How do we divide integers? Now, in division of integers, we follow the same rules as multiplication. So rule number 1, negative divided by negative is a positive. Number 2, positive divided by positive is a positive. Then positive divided by negative is a negative, and negative divided by a positive is a negative. So when you have two signs that are the same, negative and negative gives you a positive, positive and positive gives you a positive. But when the signs are different, positive and negative, negative and positive, you get answers that are negative. So let us look at some examples. Number 1, we have 60 divided by 10. So 60 is positive, 10 is positive. What will our answer be? Positive. So 60 divided by 10 is 6. Number 2, negative 30 divided by negative 3. So 30 is negative, 3 is negative. So negative divided by negative gives you a positive. Then 30 divided by 3 is 10. Number 3, negative 4 divided by 2. 4 is negative, 2 is positive. So negative divided by a positive gives you a negative. So 4 divided by 2 is 2, but then according to the rules, this will be negative 2. Then finally, negative 18 divided by 6, or rather positive 18 divided by negative 6. This will be equal to positive and negative gives you a negative answer. 18 divided by 6 is 3. So as long as you follow the rules, then multiplication and division of integers is quite easy. So now I'll give you some questions that you will attempt. So for your exercise, attempt these questions. Number 1, negative 7 plus 4. Number 2, negative 3 minus negative 2. Number 3, negative 4 times negative 10. Number 4, negative 70 divided by 2. Number 5, 180 divided by negative 2. So attempt these questions and test yourself, and I know that you will get them right. Now, thank you for being in this lesson. See you in the next lesson.